Section 9.5 is about interior and exterior angles. We're going to be talking about angles inside of your circle and angles outside of the circle. So the interior angle theorem, that's when the vertex is on the inside of the circle and it's not on the circle and it's not at the center of the circle. Okay, that means that the measure of the angle is going to be 1/2 of the sum of the two arcs that it intercepts. So in other words, if we wanted to know the measure of angle 1, the two arcs that one intercepts are AD and BC. So I would add the measure of arc AD and BC together and then take 1/2 of that, and that would give me the measure of angle 1. If I wanted to know the measure of angle 2, the two arcs that intercepts, it intercepts AB, and on the opposite side it intersects DC. So if I add arc AB plus DC together and then divide by 2, that's going to give me the measure of angle 2. If your angle is on the outside, and it doesn't matter whether you have two secants, a secant and a tangent, or two tangents, this time it's going to be 1/2 of the difference of the arcs. Okay, so for two secants, if I wanted to know the measure of angle A, the two arcs that intersects are CE and BD. It's always the bigger one minus the smaller one because you can never have a negative measure. So the bigger arc there is CE. So it would be CE minus BD, and then take 1/2 of that, and it would give you the measure of angle A. If you have one secant and one tangent again, and we wanted to know the measure of angle A, your two arcs here are BC and BD. And BD is bigger, so again, we would do BD first. So BD minus BC, and then take 1/2 of that, and that would give me the measure of angle A. For two tangents, again, the two arcs that it intersects are the little arc BC, the minor arc BC, and then the major arc BDC. Okay, and again, the bigger one there is the major arc, so it's going to be arc BDC minus arc BC. And then again, once you subtract, then you'll take 1/2 of that, and that will give you the measure of angle A on the outside. So when it's inside, you're adding the two arcs together and dividing by 2. And when it's outside, whether it's two secants, a secant and a tangent, or two tangents, you're subtracting the two arcs. Again, the bigger arc minus the smaller arc, and then taking 1/2 of that difference. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So we want to find the measure of angle 1 when arc QR is 60 and arc PS is 100. Again, because that arc is because that angle is inside that circle, we're going to add the two arcs together and then take 1/2 of it. So it's going to be 1/2 of 60 plus 100. So again, we have to add together first. So when we add 60 plus 100 is 160, and 1/2 of 160 is 80. So the measure of angle 1 is going to be 80. For number 2, we want to find arc QR. Let me erase what we had there. Okay, so this time we want to find arc QR when the measure of angle 2 is 82 and the measure of arc PS is 70. So again, the rule is that the angle 2 is going to equal 1/2 of the sum of the arcs. So 1/2 of arc PS plus arc QR. Okay, and again, we're looking for arc QR. So I'm going to call arc QR X. Okay, angle 2, we already know here is 82 degrees. So we'll take out angle 2 and plug in 82. I'll bring down the 1/2. PS, again, they told me in the problem is 70. And I'm going to have my QR is X. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you solve this. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. What I would like to do is I would like to get rid of this 1/2 in the front. So the opposite of multiplying by 1/2, you can multiply by its inverse of 2 over 1 or just 2. That will knock out the fraction. That'll knock out that whole right-hand side, that fraction there. And 2 times 82 will give me 164. And on the right-hand side, we'll have 70 plus X. And then the last thing that I need to do is subtract 70 from both sides. And when you do that, you're going to have 94 equals X. So the measure of arc QR is going to be 94. Okay, also, if you wanted to divide both sides, when we were talking about the multiplying both sides by 2 here, if you divided both sides by 1/2, so if you did 82 divided by 1 divided by 2, it'll give you the same exact answer. So it just depends on how you see it and how you'd like to do it. For number 3, we want to find angle P when arc AC is 75 and BD is 15. So arc AC is 75, BD is 15, and we want to find angle P. Again, angle P is outside of the circle. So that means that this angle is going to be 1/2 the difference. I'm going to subtract the 2 arcs, and it's always the bigger arc minus the smaller arc. So again, we'll do what's inside the parentheses first. So 75 minus 15 will give me an answer of 60. So I'm going to have 1/2 of 60, which is 30. So the measure of the angle P is going to be 30. Okay, similar for number 4, we want to find arc VX. So this time we're looking for the measure of the arc when we're told that angle U is 35 and arc VY, which is, sorry, I highlighted the wrong one in the beginning. I'm sorry. We want to find arc VX, which is this arc here, when VY, which is the one that I originally had highlighted, was 120. So again, the measure of the angle U is going to be 1/2 the difference of the arcs. And it's the bigger arc, so it's going to be 1/2 of VX. Sorry, I don't know why I keep screwing the letters up there. VY. 1/2 of VY is the bigger arc, minus VX, which is the smaller arc. So angle U is 35, and that's going to equal 1/2. VY is 120, and we're looking for the measure of VX. So same thing here. To get rid of that 1/2, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2. Again, 2 times 1/2 just knocks out and gives you 1. And on the left-hand side, 2 times 35 is 70. And that's going to equal 120 minus x. Subtract 120 from both sides. And 70 minus 120 will give me an answer of negative 50. You can't have a negative answer, but watch what's going to happen. Just be careful. On this left-hand side, you're left with negative x. So x technically isn't by itself right now. There's really a negative 1 in front. So if you divide both sides by a negative 1, that negative divided by a negative is going to become a positive, and x will be 50. Okay, here's bringing back a blast from the past now. We want to find angle A when the ratio of major arc BDC to arc BC is 6:3. So again, remember, anytime that you have a word problem with ratio involved, that means that you're really attaching an x to each one of these. So that means that arc BDC is going to be represented by 6x, and arc BC is going to be represented by 3x. BC is this arc here, and BDC is the major arc here, is represented by 6x. So the first thing that I need to do is solve for x. Well, how am I going to do that? If I put those 2 arcs together, you can pretty much see from the picture, from my pink line or circle that I drew, that's going to form a full circle. So we're going to do 6x plus 3x equals 360, or 9x equals 360. Divide both sides by 9. And x is going to equal 40. So again, if x equals 40, that's only x. That's not the measure of any arc or any angle here. So if I want to know what 6x is represented by, 6 times 40 is going to be 240. So this major arc is 240, and then 3 times x will be 120. Right here. So that arc is going to be 120. So now to find the measure of angle A, again, that angle is on the outside of the circle. So that means it's going to be 1/2 of the difference of the 2 arcs. So it's going to be 1/2 of 240 minus 120. 240 minus 120 is again 120, and 1/2 of 120 is 60. So the measure of angle A is going to be 60 degrees. Okay, for number 6, we want to find the value of x and y. And again, right now, I only have 2 arcs here. Arc AB is 80 and arc DC is 150. So it looks like the first thing that I have to find is going to be the measure of angle X. Again, that's because those arcs are directly opposite that X. Okay, so again, this time the angle is on the inside, which means it's going to be 1/2 of the sum. So we're going to do 1/2 of 150 plus 80. And 150 plus 80 is going to be 230. So we'll have 1/2 of 230. And 1/2 of 230 will end up being 115. So X is going to equal 115. Okay, to find Y, it's not really going to be that different. Y is going to be right next to X. And if I put X and Y together, they form that straight line DB, which means they're going to add up to 180. So Y is going to equal 180, and we'll get rid of the X that we just found of 115. And when you subtract there, you'll get an answer of 65. So Y is 65. Okay, and for our last two, we want to find our value of X here. So again, I have an interior angle, and I have the two arcs that it is opposite, or it's intersecting here to here. So again, the angle is going to be 1/2 of the sum of the arcs. Okay, the angle is 12x minus 3. So the angle equals 1/2 of the sum of the arcs. So I have the 1/2, the sum of the arcs. I'm going to add the two arcs together. So 2x plus 7 plus 19x plus 5. So now it's just going to take me a second here to solve this. Okay, on the inside of the parentheses on that right-hand side, I'm going to combine my like terms. I'll just bring down the 12x minus 3. I'll bring down the 1/2. Okay, 2x plus 19x is 21x, and 7 plus 5 will give me an answer of 12. So I'm going to have 21x plus 12 there. The next thing I think I want to do is get rid of that 1/2 in the front. Again, the opposite of multiplying by 1/2 is just to multiply by 2. And we just need to be careful on that right-hand side. Make sure you're multiplying the entire right-hand side by 2. So you're going to have to distribute that 2 through the parentheses. So 2 times 12 is 24. So we'll have 24x. 2 times 3 is 6. So we're going to have 24x minus 6 on the left. Again, on the right, the 2 and the 1/2 is going to cancel, and I'll have 21x plus 12. Again, it does not matter what you do first here. I'll subtract 21x from both sides. 24x minus 21x is going to be 3x. So I am going to have 3x minus 6 equals 12. We'll add 6 to both sides, and 3x is going to equal 18. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3, and x is going to equal 6. Okay, again, it was only asking you to find x. You found x. You're done. Okay, so again, a little bit more involved. Again, for part B, this time the angle is on the outside of the circle. And again, when it's on the outside of the circle, the measure of the angle is 1/2 of the difference of the arcs. So the measure of the angle here is 4x, is equals 1/2 the difference of the arcs. It's the bigger arc minus the smaller arc. So the bigger arc here is 9x plus 26 minus 35. Okay, first thing I'll do is I'll kind of do two things at once here. I'm going to get rid of that 1/2 by multiplying both sides by 2. Again, on the right, the 1/2 and the 2 will cancel out. And on the left, when I do 2 times 4x, I'm going to have an answer of 8x there. And on the right, I'm going to combine that 26 minus 35. So I'll bring down the 9x, and then 26 minus 35 should give me an answer of -9. So I'll subtract 9x from both sides. So 8x minus 9x is -1x. And again, be careful on that right-hand side. You're left with a -9. So again, x technically isn't by itself here. We'll divide both sides by a -1, and a negative divided by a negative will give you a positive. So x is going to equal 9. Again, just keep in mind when you're doing these problems that you cannot have a negative answer. X can't be negative. The measure of your angle can't be negative. The measure of your arc can't be negative. Okay, everything here is going to be a positive answer. So if you get a negative answer, you know something is wrong.